Okay, you know what we're here for. WandaVision.
Yeah.
Episode 5, we interrupt this program. Was that the name of the episode, I think?
No, that was the last one.
No. It was a very special
Very
episode.
special episode, yeah.
Very special episode.
I love these titles. Come on. Right? And you know what's really funny is that the people who are writing this, right, are maybe some of them are close to our age, but most of them aren't. Most of them are younger. So there's this nostalgic reflection of utilizing these eras.
Right.
Which we've done as well. Like if we did a show and then we said, well, we're going to make it look like I Love Lucy. Well, I wasn't there when that first hit the television waves.
Right.
But yeah, but I see that the reason I say that is with me, I might be a little bit more jaded because I was in the 80s where they have this sort of romantic view of it. And I think it's darling. That theme song.
The straight, it was what Full House. I mean, come on,
like
it was
House,
like straight Full House. But speaking of jaded, one thing I do look forward to is when they get into, because there are a few more episodes, and I know they're going to keep going in their decades. When they get to the 90s and they get to the aughts, the standard sitcom changed. Mm-hmm. They were more, Seinfeld is a very cynical show.
Yeah.
It's things like and even like the Modern Family and stuff like that, or the reality TV, or the ones where they always have people are talking to the camera and doing their little
like the Office
things.
Yeah, the Office is pretty much the progenitor of that, right?
Like the original Office, and then the American Office, and So there's more of a cynical outlook to things. Comedy's a little meaner.
Yeah,
it is. So I'm curious as to how that's gonna come across on this show. In WandaVision, what they're going to do with that. But yes, that theme song is stuck in my head. That tune, dun 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 dun, and I'm doing this because I'm trying to get it in his head.
It's not going to happen. No, that's not true. It totally will, folks. I have more brainworms, so they call
more earworms in your head.
Brainworms. I have brainworms. You got to put a salve on it. It goes away in a week. No problem. Anyways, an earworm. I have more earworms than I care for, so that's kind of why sometimes I tune this out. But I will tell you, my initial response. So I'm sitting down, I'm watching it. I'm just like, oh my god, this is hilarious. That's the first thought I have, right? Like, oh my god, how funny. This totally sounds exactly like what it is. But then you settle in, and it's a delightful little tune. It sounds exactly like what a sitcom of the era should have sounded like. But then you start to listen to the words. And I got to tell you, dude, I actually cried if the song was done. I cried. Because I feel for these characters, and I heard it. I heard what was being said, and it was fucking dark. Because I mean, not dark like, well, I don't know, maybe super dark, but it's not like they're dealing with something. It's so funny. I'm trying to say it's not like they're dealing with something too serious, but they are. They're dealing with death and mourning, and unfortunately, I went through this somewhat recently, and it set me back decades in terms of my mental health.
So
I feel this.
Devastating. It is devastating.
It is absolutely devastating. And so I'm feeling this. And it's like what I have, you don't think would I have made that decision, because you can't. You're not, it doesn't exist. You can't do these things. But if you stop yourself for long enough, you go, would I do that? Would I do that? And I would like to think,
capable of that? Am I capable of that?
Yeah.
If sometimes, it's hard to say that, whether or not I would do something, but and it's part of growing and being self-reflecting. It's like, what are you capable of? I know I'm capable of some pretty bad stuff. Whether or not I would do it, if I would stop myself.
Okay, there you go. That's the distinction you're trying to draw, right?
But are you capable?
Oh, yeah. I'm capable. Yeah. I mean, what's the distinction we're saying? I'm able to.
Yes, or do you have it as part of you? Is it to do? Yeah. But whether or not that who will win that fight? That's the important part. Who will win that fight when the time
Right.
comes? Some
Like
people,
using-
it's like hurting someone isn't even in their nature. They just couldn't do it.
Right.
They just couldn't do it. It's like, no, I know I could.
Right.
I feel it, and I've made an active, like personality like workshop with myself to take care of that over the years.
Yeah. And like a similar one, we brought up a subject about me having some difficulties with someone near me in my life. Not somebody I know very well. And my first instinct was to yell at them. My first instinct was to confront them kind of aggressively. That was my first instinct. And I had to tell myself, nope, 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 nope. So that's that workshop that you're talking about. So am I capable of actually doing it? I don't know. What does that mean if I've already trained myself not to do it? Mm. But you've seen me do it.
Yeah.
I know. This is what's really funny. Jerry, sometimes, when I'm in a foul mood, I'm really depressed or something, he'll be like, come on, dude, we're going out. We're going to go see a movie. Right. So we'll go to a movie. And I remember this one time.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
You knew what I was about to talk about.
I know.
Right?
I know what you're going to talk about now.
Yeah.
We'll get back to WandaVision. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, folks. Yeah, this is what we do. So I'm a sweet guy. I rarely yell at people. That's not who I am, right? I'm the guy who wants to make people laugh. I'm the guy who knows how to solve issues. And Jesse Vale, problem solver. People know that phrase. And I was in such a foul mood. And here we are about to watch this movie. And there's these guys, bros.
It's a small theater. It's one of those small little side ones, where the place has been divided up into 4 when it was just 2. And so you got the little small wing ones. Yeah,
it's the Grand Lake Theater. It's been divided up. So, and there's not a lot of people in the
not very many
sitting there, right? Which kind of made it worse, right? So there's these guys. That's the thing, right? That kind of, now that I'm looking back, that's kind of what it was. Like, there's so many other places for these fools to sit. No,
this is where Jesse starts justifying the fact that he almost went off on somebody.
It scared me, dude. Yeah, but they were talking behind us, and normally I don't care. This is what I'm trying to say. Someone's talking, like Jerry and I talk. Now we have sense to talk in a specific tone to each other because we have good sense. But if someone we're
also observant around. Yes, go ahead. I know exactly.
If somebody in front of us said, "Oh, could you please keep it down?" We'd be like, "Oh, so sorry," because that's how humans are supposed to react.
Beyond that, I've seen him do it, and I know I've done this before. Is that we try to pride ourselves on being observant to people around us. Mm-hmm. And taking visual cues that maybe they're not even they're not saying,
like little shifting, and
you can tell in somebody's body language that they're thinking about turning around, they're thinking about saying something, but maybe their personality is such that they don't want to feel aggressive, so they don't. And you notice that kind of thing,
right?
And you go,
and that's kind of what I was doing.
Yeah,
so these fools are talking behind us. They're drunk and they're bros, and I don't. Is that a weird thing? Is that a racist thing to say? Because you know what I mean by it.
I know what you mean by it,
and technically it is. Even though that's my race. But that's what I'm saying.
They're bros. They're not, they weren't brothers. They weren't brothers.
Oh, no, they were bros. They were bros. And they were drunk. They were all Chads. They were drunk and they were talking loudly, like stupidly loudly, before the movie ever started. And I know, like just what Jerry had said, me sort of like doing this sort of thing, sort of making these body language things, and I was doing it consciously. I do those things consciously because I'd rather not confront somebody. I'd rather them pick up those cues. These guys were not doing it. And they kept talking, and we're getting into the previews, which, unbeknownst to them, is some of my favorite part of being in a movie. I like to see previews. And I straight up aggro turned around and I said, "Are you going to talk through the entire movie then?" And this motherfucker got in my face, and I started to stand up. I mean, I was about to go. And that's not what I do. I was going to, let's be perfectly honest. I was about to lose a fight. That's what I was going into. I was about to lose a fight.
Let's really be serious.
Yeah.
You were about to get Jerry in a fight.
I was about to get Jerry in a fight. Yeah. And Jerry's all of a sudden Jerry's in his face and he goes, how about you worry about you and I'll worry about him? And it worked. But I was angry for a good half hour. I mean, I was
like, dude, what the
steaming. Yeah. It kind of came out of left field. I've done this a few times. There have been twice. This is so weird. You don't even know this. There's twice that I've actually gotten out of my car to walk towards somebody else's car, Jerry. Can you imagine me doing that? I mean, yes, because you've seen it, but it's just not. Come on, what am I doing? It's the stupidest thing. It's not even that it's stupid because it's just too aggro. It's, come on, man, you're not a fighter. Even though this is what always comes to my mind. And it came to my mind then, during the thing we're talking about. Oh, God, what was the name of that movie? Something Henry.
What about Henry?
No. Oh, that was a good movie. No. It's about this. I'm getting it wrong, I know. It's about
the one with Bill Murray and
no,
it's not the
somebody
one
like we don't know anybody. In this. I mean, maybe if we look to be like, oh yeah, I know that guy, but it wasn't like a star or anything like this. And it was just the simple name, and it was this guy, and I can't even remember the situations in the movie. I'll find it. We'll post it in the description. But this guy is like some sort of PI or something, and he's interfering. He's trying to these two guys, and it's really quirky. These two thugs come to his door, and he opens the door.
Oh, I think I know which one is that one.
He opens the door. He sees the two guys. Yeah, kind of an indie film.
Yeah,
and it was one of the. I laughed so loud when he first said it. I was like, "That is some badass shit right there."
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right? Because what he said was, "Gentlemen, I know what you're here to do. I know that I don't have too long to live, and so I only have one more thing I need to do in my life, and I will do it because I will focus entirely on this, because it will be my last act upon this earth, and that is to remove one of your eyes." And that was some scary ass shit, because they were like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right? And it worked. That was really good writing. That was really good writing. All right.
I can't remember which one that was. Yeah.
I'll find the name of it.
We'll just make this a little separate little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So back to WandaVision, because that was actually an actual story. I like that little side that we just did there.
It was really funny.
So WandaVision. Let's start at the top. Let's start at the top then.
Okay.
Because I know if we don't have structure, we'll just end up popping all over the place with it, the whole thing.
Right. So we were talking initially about the song and how.
So, but before the song. Mm-hmm. We have that first opening. We have kind of the cold open where they come in and they're having issues with the kids going to sleep and all that kind of stuff. They're the basic,
Was that I thought that was after the theme.
That was before.
It was okay.
Because they grew. They suddenly were 5 years old, and then we had the opening credits.
Oh, right, because they chose them as babies and then kids.
So
right?
the little babies. And first thing, at least one of the first things we noticed, is that the babies aren't influenced by Wanda's magic.
Right.
She thought she could do a little shortcut, and it's like, oh, they're not influenced by the magic. That's interesting. I wonder if that's going to be a thing. It could have just been like a little quirky thing they were doing, because nothing that mom does works.
Right.
So yeah. Uh-huh. But and then I thought the next thing that happened, which I think is super important, is Agnes came in.
Yeah.
And what did she call herself?
Auntie
Agnes. She called herself Auntie Agnes.
Yeah.
That's now if you want a more you can't get much more a concrete establishment
that she's Agatha.
That she's going to be Agatha. The fact that the whole Auntie Agnes thing. Mm-hmm. It's always possible. It's still a red herring going on. But the fact that she also keeps having that brooch on no matter what outfit she's wearing. I keep checking. Yeah. I keep checking to see if that brooch is on, just to see if it was just a quirky thing they were doing, or nope, it's still deliberate. They're doing it on every one of them. But for me, Agnes is still really an odd character.
Choice?
In terms of, just in terms of how she's acting. Because in the very beginning, in that first scene, she switched, right? She did this thing where she all of a sudden noticed that maybe she was in the wrong blocking. Vision
But that
said something.
she'd obviously done something that might upset Wanda. Is kind of what it was.
Or
where
something.
This would be the
yeah.
this would be the point in which Wanda would rewind, and she
Right.
stopped to wait for it to happen, and then said, "Do you want me to start from the, like right?
Right.
Yeah, that was a
and
really
so there's a certain unlike Vision when he steps out of things. There's a certain amount of complicity to what she understands what's happening to a certain degree, as opposed to being completely out of control. Like, oh, I'm being completely taken over, and I have no control of what I do. There's a certain amount of free will in her actions. Like so, is she somehow in on it? Or what? That's an interesting bit, because later on, there seems to be genuine fear and stuff going on with her as well.
right when Vision. I love little MacGuffins like that. So Vision can touch people's heads and take them out and then touch their heads and put them back. Like he knew he could do that. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So that happened and Norm was like freaking F out, and then he put him back to sleep, as it were.
Right.
But before that,
right.
Agnes is like,
and then after I said, I told you we're going to jump around on these things. When the dog dies and and she's dealing, there's a lot of emotion coming out of Agnes about what can and can't be done, and what it's like, what is her real role in this? It's not, it's not fully. It doesn't seem fully victim, and it doesn't seem fully perpetrator. Or she's really good acting.
Right. So, for instance, that one scene, just stopping there on that one scene, right? So it's under the guise of a teachable moment, right?
Yes, that's why it's a very special episode.
That's why that's why a very special episode. It's one of those very special episodes. Something tragic happens to the kids, and then they have to learn to work through it, and thereby they're informing families at home how to deal with grief. You remember, it was kind of like a lot of these things were that
was all Reagan era stuff, man.
Yeah,
that was all.
And that, okay, so that's the ruse. That's the scene, right? But then, because you're right, when Agnes is approaching, she's playing the role. So this isn't Agnes afraid like she was before. This isn't Agnes afraid like, oh shit, this is not good, and she could be angry. Right. This was part of the show. Part of the show. But then when and Agnes trying to like say, well, and Wanda saying this is how things go. But my suspicion is that somehow Agnes is aware, and that was something that she kind of perpetrated, because somehow she's aware of what's happening. She aware of what's happening, not just aware that she's been taken over but she's aware. Okay, this is Wanda. That's Vision. He died. Obviously, something's going on here, and this is a way of her probing. Mm-hmm. And that when Wanda said, or when the boys were saying like, bring him back to life, and she responded, "You can do that." That was new information for her. Right. But she was actively trying to change the situation with that scene. It fit into the narrative, which is why Wanda let it happen. But it seemed to me that that this was her probing.
Could be.
Right?
I have a slightly darker turn on that whole dog dying thing.
Yeah.
That dog killed itself.
You think so?
That dog ate something. No, I am not part of this. That dog, what that? It's like it. So
it's just like the scariness that everyone says that they're feeling.
I am out. Yeah, I am out. Yeah.
Can a dog do that though?
I'm just saying. That's just my. I don't actually think that happened, but that would be a dark turn. Yeah. So back to the beginning. So now she's established herself. She calls herself Anti-Agnes, which I think is really a really important tell.
Yeah.
Okay. And the whole, and the way it affects Vision, and how Wanda tries to blow it off, like he doesn't know what he's doing is what's going on. It's just driving him more, to try to figure out, what's happening in this Truman Show that he's in. Like he's really seeing that things are happening.
Right. And that gives me a hint to something else about
this
his
is all this
being
kind of
alive.
free will, this more free will he seems to be having. The more he has it, the more we were discussing before.
Yeah.
And then the kid's growing up. It's like I'm not wholly sure how that mechanism works.
Yeah.
Do you have a theory on that, or have you heard anything?
I've heard a theory on it, and I don't disagree with it. And that is that Tommy is Wiccan.
I can't remember which.
Yeah, I can't remember which. But the boy that is supposed to be Wiccan, he exhibits her powers, whereas Speed exhibits her brother's powers. And that because they have been created as individuals, though that's brand new life, right? She created life somehow in that the whole, the pieces of souls, whatever. They're constructs, but they're alive. And that was their choice. Because she was legitimately trying to talk them out of it when the dog died.
Yes.
So it was they did it, or Wiccan did it. One of them did it. And it may have been too big a tell to have whoever's going to be Speed.
Right.
It may have been too big a tell, and that's why that hasn't happened. But I think he's exhibiting his power somehow.
So, okay. Speaking of powers, this is something that's always been kind of in a lot of people's heads. It's been in my head. The fact that Wanda's powers don't reflect the origin of her powers. She got her powers from the Mind Stone. So originally, when she first started executing her powers,
We're talking about the MCU, not the DC. I mean, not the MCU.
Just the MCU, because that's what we're dealing with here. Because they're going to do what they're going to do. Right. So when she got her powers from the Mind Stone, from manipulation of using the Mind Stone, her powers were telepathic and telekinetic.
Right.
Makes sense. Mind powers.
Right.
Quicksilver, why does he have speed powers?
Right.
Is it somehow that his mind works so fast it's able to make his muscles twitch, blah, 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 to come up with something like that? You could if you wanted to, but it doesn't really make sense in terms of mind-based powers. And now that she is, they reveal in this, which we already kind of knew, but they're discovering that it's not that she's controlling people's minds and everyone's just seeing things as being different. The clothes don't just look different. They
are different.
Retooled and are the same things they were before, but are actually different. That's you could say it's a really super high level of telekinesis if you wanted to, that they're just down to the molecular level, but that's still a really high level of power that doesn't seem to flow directly from the Mind Stone.
No, all the stones have always confused me, just BTW, because they're not the same as the comic books. And even though I wasn't very familiar with them, they seemed to make more sense there. Also, the fact that they used them so often to create powers, I think was a mistake. One of the mistakes that they've made, one of the few mistakes they've made, but that's one of them. You're pointing it out exactly, that it just doesn't seem to make sense.
So this is an avenue that I've thought about, and our friend Jamil Hempel mentioned this the other day, and I agree with him, that this isn't, the manipulation with the Mind Stone wasn't granting them powers, it was unlocking powers.
So it opened their mind, as it were.
Or opened whatever genetic potential they had.
Which is Terrigen.
But the mechanism that it's Terrigen. It's also the X gene of mutants.
Yeah.
Because when X-Men first started in the comics, it was Children of the Atom. There was just all this stuff about how atomic power or in all sorts of things that this, have like exposed people and cause these things, and so powers get unlocked. And same thing with the Fantastic Four and even Banner and things like that. It's not like it gave him power, these people powers. It unlocked things.
It unlocked things. Okay.
So it's kind of an avenue for mutation, or at least the mutant power to be, already in the MCU. We just haven't seen it.
Okay.
So exposure, direct manipulation by the Mind Stone, unlocked that there. The fact that everyone got snapped means they were all exposed to the entire Infinity Gauntlet, which can cause people to have their genetic potential unlocked. And
okay,
thus we
so
can start,
that's where you
things
think,
like that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying these different avenues that they can be putting in it.
Because there's
even
something
the fact
I
that
want
the
to
time stone affect people can cause things to have retroactively have mess with people,
Right.
and so that these genetic potentials can be unlocked. That's one avenue that they could be looking at of getting these powers.
That's kind of interesting because Doctor Strange having the time stone and him really advancing so quickly, and that what's her name, the master,
The ancient one,
saying you're destined to be, that somehow because of his possession of it, that it made him destined to be, because it put him in the minds of ancients. Do you see what I'm saying? That's kind of an interesting thing. I don't think that's where they're going, but my brain just went there. Anyways, I know you want to complete your thought, but there's in terms of where these powers are going and what they're about to do, or these ways to unlock powers are going, I have something to say, but finish.
Then go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so it's interesting that, we're trying to find like what the mechanism is with the Mind Stone, which is the blue one, right?
It was the yellowish one.
The one that was in. She got her powers from that? I thought she got her powers. Oh, that's right.
Because they had the staff,
which was blue.
It was blue on the outside,
know,
but they cracked it open.
What I mean?
They cracked it open. They cracked it open, and it was blah, blah.
Come on. Just because you like the color blue, why couldn't you just given Loki that one? I mean, so anyways, it's very confusing to me. But here's the thing, because I think you might be thinking, I'm guessing this based on what you just said, that because the Mind Stone unlocks and because the snapping in and out exposes, that this will be the avenue that gives Monica Rambeau her powers. Do you think that's the avenue?
I don't know. I literally don't know if they even plan on giving her powers yet, for a bit.
She has, because here's the thing. I thought that, okay. She's the only one to have gone in. Mm-hmm. She's the only one to have come out. And when she came out, she had, for lack of a better word, an afterglow.
Right. They did kind of mention that she protected her. That was like her protection on there. Another thing,
she was pushed through the cosmic energy.
Yeah, but there's another thing that's attached to that, could be connected, could be not, is the fact that when they tried to scan her and things like that, they got nothing. There
was actually, because there's too much energy.
Yeah,
it would be like being a thing of energy and trying to take an X-ray. That's not going to work. Yeah, so I think she's already empowered.
I don't think she's there. Well, empowered in terms of it's already been. She doesn't know about it yet.
Yeah, she doesn't know about it, but I think that the cosmic energy, or whatever, however they're going to phrase it, that makes her into Photon or Ms. Marvel. Well, what are they going to do with that whole mess?
It would be Photon. It would be Photon. They have Miss Marvel's. They already have a Miss Marvel in the works.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's about to come in. They're already been cast. So okay. So Photon, right? So I think it's already happened. I'm almost positive it's already happened because of the checkup, the scans,
right. So the scan. Yeah. But whether or not they actually put it into effect, maybe a while, but it can be traced back to maybe this moment.
Well, I think there's something else too. This is a guess. She's already mentioned, Monica has already mentioned, so this is what I would need to build to go back in. Mm-hmm. And we've seen previews of that thing passing through the wall, right? That tank looking thing.
Right.
We've seen it.
She knows an aerospace engineer that might be able to work on that.
That's something else I want to talk about. Let's remember that.
Yeah.
But for initially, that here's the thing she's going to have created. So this is what I would need to go in. Well, I know an aerospace engineer. So now we know, okay, that's probably what that thing is we see driving in, this sort of 1999 space show version of a tank. Wow. Right. How's that for a fucking obscure reference? So
it's just hilarious. I actually used to have that toy, the ship from Space 1999. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's also, so there's the scene of this vehicle, this big vehicle driving into now the red force field. Mm-hmm. So now we know it's super laden with power.
Yes.
Right. And I think it's Monica who's going to go back in. I think she's the, when you see that behind shot of somebody in, and it looked initially like it was an air vehicle, and you see the red outside the window.
I have to go back and take a look.
Yeah, there's this one where you see somebody in a helmet, and it looks like they're kind of going like this, and you see outside of there, and it looks like airplane windows that there's a red field they're going through. I think it's that vehicle, and that it's Monica behind the wheel, and I think she's about to get double exposed. And I'm not, and here's where we go. I'm not utterly not convinced that Reed, Sue, Ben, and Johnny aren't in that vehicle. I know that it would take away.
Yeah, I don't think
that Reed Richards is the one she's referring to.
Yes, but I think more likely it will be referenced. But I don't think they would. It would have been leaked. Pull the trigger on that.
The casting would have been leaked, right?
I don't think they'll pull the trigger on that. So I do think that they'll probably, that would be a great person to have be the provider. So
just Richards, so that you hear the name.
So you hear the name.
So Richard says this will work, right?
And maybe some logo or something like or
logo,
or have them on the phone or something, and you but not hear the voice. But yeah. But I don't think they'll go there.
Did I ever tell you about that? I want to do a whole puppet show that's just that, and it should make sense with movement.
Oh, it makes sense. Of course,
it's a bunch of adults going quack 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 quack. Right. Anyways, go on.
So I don't think they'll pull the trigger that much, but I think they will drop, the name or something that.
So you think it's Reed too?
That would make sense for me. That's who I would think it would be. Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of another one. Again, in Emergency Awesome, Charlie was saying it was somebody called Blue Marble or Blue Marvel. I couldn't tell what he was saying. It's a black superhero. His name is Blue Marvel or it's Blue Marble.
Is he talking about the old giant man that was Lawrence Fishburne?
And when he showed him, maybe because he showed him with this blue sphere, so that's why I thought it might be Marvel, but I think he said Marvel.
But it could be him. Yeah, that would be Lawrence Fishburne, who was right. I thought he was still a quantum physicist. I didn't think he was an aerospace engineer. But right. So we'll see.
Okay. Now
go ahead.
Because we're on the subject of them being in that room talking about, well, I know an aerospace engineer, and then I think she texts him in that scene, I think, or at least in that room, someone brought up Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And Monica's face did not look happy.
Not look happy. Could be the fact that, her mom had cancer. And
Marvel didn't do anything about it.
Marvel didn't do anything about it. Maybe it was due to exposure to, the life that she. Well, the thing is, I'm curious because the original Captain Marvel in the comics died of cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer was actually a big deal. That's why he is permanently dead. They made him a very mortal death, so he is permanently dead. No mystical death for him.
No.
It was actually a really big deal. So cancer is like really important to the discussion of Captain Marvel. So yeah, there's some bad blood there. Either like you left for 20 something years and didn't see
and I haven't seen you,
or
because she's not technically she would have been back. She would have heard that she took place in Endgame.
Yeah. So she knows about that. That's why she's
she knows she's been to Earth.
The second she mentioned it, Jimmy mentioned it, her eyes just kind of went. It's like
right.
So obviously,
I wonder what that's about.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing. So sticking on the outside of the hex, which by the way, hilarious.
I love it.
But it's also alluding to the fact that all the hex stuff could just be a red herring by having everything hexagonal, and it obviously could be. And they're adding to the possible misdirection by having her say that to throw
people off. And I think it's an homage more than anything, because her original powers are hex.
Yeah, exactly. Her hex.
And then again, Charlie pointed out in sort of a way that it could literally just be a shape that occurs. I mean, he didn't say it so much.
Yes,
but it's a strong shape. It's a very natural, reoccurring shape that's strong.
Yeah, honeycomb. Yeah,
honeycomb. Right. So that it just could be that they thought like, oh well, instead of a dome, we should just make it a hexagon. Oh, that's so great. That's really interesting. Yeah, because it's really strong and it'd be hard to get into. Yeah, that's awesome. Right. And Hershey has hexes.
And then they could choose to play on it. And then they could just choose to play on it. Once they see that, they're like, hey, we're gonna play with it thematically.
Right.
Like,
putting. Even Charlie
start putting
pulled
hexes everywhere. They start putting hexagons everywhere.
And Charlie pulled back. He even started mentioning way too many. And I was like, okay, this does seem a bit too contrived. Because he was talking about the jump points of the. I see what I'm saying? It's all right, everybody, let's just relax. Let's just relax.
Yes, yeah, I noticed that similarity too. But that's that's not something that's thought out. That's just something.
Well, I mean, if circles appeared everywhere, and if. On her uniform originally there was a circle, everyone would be like, oh my God, there's circles everywhere. The sun is even a circle. It's like, what the hell? Yeah, I think to my opinion, I think they may play with it a little bit more than what I'm saying, but I think it's just an homage to the fact that her original powers were called hex powers. Right. That's all I think.
Okay. Anyways. So before I forget, what do you think about the acting director of S.W.O.R.D.?
See, because I've heard some rumors about him, and I don't know if I agree with them, but it tainted me. So I think
we're agreed that he's a bad guy and he's going to be gone by the end of this series, right?
Maybe not, and I'll explain why.
If he has some other identity, that's one thing. But him as acting head of S.W.O.R.D.,
he'll be gone.
He's going to be gone.
He'll be gone.
Yeah.
He's not long for this world.
He's not long for. Yeah. He's
really not
character.
Sorry,
because he's obviously he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy, but is he a bad? So here's where I go back and forth.
Saw that happening. It's going to happen again too.
All my puppet heads. Anyways. Talking with my roommate about this, and we think like, okay, either some of the rumors that we're hearing that he might be a Skrull infiltrator, because we know that's coming up.
That's coming up.
And it would be a neat little tie-in. So that wouldn't be too hard to pull off.
Nope.
As compared to multiverses, that would be simple. That's a simple ruse.
Right.
And it's already a well-established race now because of the movies. So maybe that, or is he actually just that guy? He's just that asshole.
He could be that guy.
He's the one that's been in every movie. He's the guy who shoots firsts, and everybody's like, what the hell are you doing? Take the shot. Because come on, that line itself.
Yeah.
Just that.
So there is a couple things about him that that are revealed in this, personality wise. So
Yes.
he knew more about what was happening there before he sent Rambo there. Because he says, I have been authorized to release this top secret information about, her coming in, right?
Right. Okay.
Right.
Got
Right.
it.
So unless he was just notified and then authorized, I think he, come on, you're the freaking director. You're the director, acting director. So the higher ups, the board, whatever, they gave you
At least.
they gave you the leave to release the information. But the idea that he didn't know this stuff beforehand, that she broke in and took his body, is him saying, oh, it's a missing persons case, when he originally said it, that puts a lie to that for me.
So do you think, make that a given. Do you think that that's why he sent Monica into harm's way? Because he knew this was going to be serious, and it might be an easy way to get his obvious competitor out of
obvious competitor. Yes, yeah, I would say his obvious competitor, because that's,
and that means and that could play right in the hands of he's just that guy.
He's just that guy.
He's
right.
just the idiot bureaucrat who thinks he's a soldier,
he's a Skrull or something like that, who has knows where things go.
Okay, but if he were a Skrull, why? Does it still make sense?
Why have her go in?
No. Like, why would they write him in as a Skrull that eventually gets revealed? What would benefit the Skrull, the bad Skrull, to do this, to interfere? Wouldn't it just be a Skrull's best interest to go, let them fucking deal with that shit? It's probably going to kill a bunch of them. You know what I mean?
Already been in the position, and he just has to go through, go through the motions of the job.
Yeah, but see, that would play in. That would actually mean that's why he would get rid of Monica, because he needs to stay in control as this secret Skrull.
There's several possibilities. So there's this idea that she went against Vision's wishes of how his body was to be dealt with.
That was something serious too.
That was something serious. But when I look at that scene, I go, I'm sorry, I don't think you guys were doing what he wanted to have done with his body. He was in a lab. He was taken apart. They were working on AI and robotics using him. Remember, they said they've shifted their focus to nanotech, AI,
and of course
robotics.
They would.
Right.
Because if they had their own vision to control, of course they would.
Right. So when she comes out and is pissed off at them and says, I have what I want and no one's taking it from me again, and looks at him, it's like, there's a strong, inference there that she's meaning, I'm not letting you have his body to do what you were going to be doing with it. You're not going to get to desecrate him the way you were going to, and now you're trying to make it look like I went against his wishes. No, you were trying to make a weapon out of him. You were trying to think,
we've been asking ourselves since the very beginning, was there a trigger?
Right.
Was that it? Was it that she found out that they were going to try to rebuild Vision in a different way? That's the trigger that we've been looking for? That just made her go, not on my watch. Right. And just snapped made these weird decisions. I
mean, we're talking, so that was 9 days ago.
Yeah.
That's like less than 2 weeks after the Battle of Endgame.
Yeah.
Okay. So she hasn't had a chance to freaking mourn.
Ooh.
So has she even had a chance to spend any time? She's gone to, funerals, Tony Stark or whatever, but has she had a time to actually, spend, with Vision? He might be a robot, but it's hers, it's her man. So she wants to spend some time with him or whatever. And so then she's like, where is he?
Yeah,
what happened?
Exactly. Why can't I see my husband or my boyfriend, whatever. I don't think they're married now. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. And that she freaked the fuck out, find out like, why are you not letting me? Why are you not letting me? Because we feel the same way.
Yeah.
That's a natural thing.
Yeah. But even if that's what happens, then we get into her saying that, and I believe she was being authentic when she says this, that she doesn't even know how this started.
So that was a question because, obviously one of my spheres of influence is mental illness. she could have. It's not a split personality disorder because she's aware. It's not like she snaps
Right,
out.
but she could have been in a fugue state or just complete,
that's more of what I'm talking
separation.
about.
Yeah,
a little bit of a separation from reality, and then because of that separation from reality, she creates a reality.
Right.
Does that make sense?
But that takes her away from being
that's kind of hard to explain.
Being a bad guy. That's not so much of the initial bad
and
guy.
They really drove that home, and I was glad they did that because I do think that there's still a good chance that she's the big bad in the grander sense.
In terms of the threat, yeah.
In terms of a threat, that I do think that, and I think that was really nice of them to drive home. No, she's not. Something's wrong. Something's happening to her, and we need to help. Yeah. I thought that was that I appreciated that was written in because I started to see that go a little bit out of control. Where they were going to make her a bad guy, and that's not what she is. That's not what I say when I. Right. That's not what I mean when I say big bad.
I didn't think about that until just now. Because it relates to the whole big bad concept. Okay, so let's go back into our let's put on our extra nerdy nerd hats.
So we're going to talk about Buffy.
So we're going to just briefly talk about the connection between Dark Willow.
Yeah. Right.
And what's happening with Scarlet Witch.
Right. Okay, so everybody, Buffy spoilers.
Yeah, Buffy spoilers.
Right.
Buffy season 6 spoilers. Come on.
Season 6 spoilers, yeah.
But there's a parallel there in terms of the way this is executed. It's like, yes, you have somebody who truly is the existential threat. She's the direct threat that everyone has.
Right. Dark Willow was the big bad.
Was the threat.
Period.
But she was broken. Fault. She was not an evil person.
Correct.
The big bad, the truly big bad of season 6 was Warren. He was the person who was sick and twisted and evil just as a human being that caused her this kind of pain that caused her to break. Just and the fact that she was having, addiction issues and all sorts of stuff, and then blah, 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 all kind of snowballed. But she was not a bad guy, even though she was the big bad. She was the big threat.
And by the
something
way,
similar, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Since we're talking about this, God damn that episode, man! That whole segment of when. Well, these are spoilers. So when Tara's shot, fucking hell, it is so well done because there's no reaction. There's none from her. Mm-hmm. Right? She's here. She's not here.
Right.
It just really set that off on that unstable footing. Right? Mm-hmm. No goodbyes. No dramatic death scene where they confess their love for each other and I'll never forget you or it was just gone.
Who turned out the lights? It's getting dark now.
Right.
Yeah.
No, none of that. Yeah. I'm getting cold. Is it cold? Dude, if I'm in your arms and I'm dying and I say that, it's my last joke.
Right.
I'll know what I'm saying, just so you know.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know. If I'm in your arm dying, in your arm, I said, because obviously in whatever killed me, your other arm was removed. So at least, we went down. We went down having a good battle. Yeah, okay. So now,
I do think it's a very it's an interesting parallel there, and I think that's what's happening here. So yes, she may be the big bad, but I'm sorry, you're not making Scarlet Witch truly evil.
No, because
not yet. We can always do it. That's one thing I trust about the Marvel MCU way of doing things, say compared to the DC extended universe right now, is that they're willing to take their time with some stuff.
Thanks for watching this snippet.
If you're interested in listening to the full conversation in one continuous spot, you can check out the entire podcast on Spotify or any other podcast delivery service you might have. All availability will be shown in the description.
And make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be bugged by us for the rest of time, click that little bell.
Thanks, everybody.